Everybody, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to do some analysis on your giraffe buildings. So once we've rapidly modeled in something, so let's move back to our other site here. Now for this purpose, let's just quickly model in some other buildings. I will just navigate to a 2D view, go to layers, and this is just to help reinforce context 2, create that. All right, so now we're in our context 2. We'll just put in some buildings. Let's just go some residential buildings, and maybe we'll make a garden apartment just here. Oops. Now, there's a reason I'm doing this, and it's purely because, whoopsies, I want to show you some of the cool capabilities you get within within Giraffe. So let's navigate back to a 3D view here. So here we see our building, and this is the building here that we want to run our analysis on. So let's move back to that layer, and we'll go into one. Here we go. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to see down the side here, we have these panels. Now what we can do is we can quite quickly run some analysis on our building. So we'll just let this here take its time to do the analysis. And what we see here is how much daylight our building's getting. We see the date and the time. It's doing winter solstice for us. We have the ability to change this. So if we want to change it to, let's say, the 21st of December, summer solstice, we have the ability to do that. By navigating around, we start to see where the sun's hitting. Obviously, being summer, it's quite sunny everywhere. And we're seeing how much sunlight our building's getting, how many hours. We'll go back to our winter solstice. And for example, say we want to get more, let's say, more sunlight here on our building. What we can do is we can do this, drag this out, and as we can see, it's automatically run the analysis, and now we're getting more sunlight on our building. This is just a really quick and handy tool to be able to model and get real-time feedback and ensure that your form is both aesthetic, practical when you're getting that real-time data you're getting up here. And also getting, we'll go metric. So we're seeing how much percentage of buildings we have modeled in this project here, what the percentage is, what the percentage of trees is, so vegetation area, etc. We're getting to really start to see this. We're also getting like feasibility options that we can start to add data to certain buildings and so on. So we could say this here building is a, let's say, we're going to change it to 1-bedroom units. So this is only a 1-bedroom dwelling here. And then we can start to work out, well, okay, we have 1-bedroom dwellings here. How many car parks do we need? And so what we go is we go down the bottom here and we go to underground parking. No, this would be a very practical site to be doing that. And let's say we do that here to here. And what it tells us back here in the analytics is how many car spaces we need. So 110 out of the required 270 car parks required. So it's taken these buildings here into context. It says, okay, you have accommodation for however many people of 1-bedroom apartments. So obviously you're going to need even more car parks per people. Here's how many things. If you change this here to be a 3-bedroom building, we click back on our car park, we go back to our analytics. Whoops, sorry. We go back to our analytics, and there we go. We now need slightly less car parks because we've got slightly less rooms to accommodate for. If we make this building smaller, that's very practical either, but just for the case of showing how the data lives out, we'll give it time to run. We can change this dwelling type to community, and I might change this one here to be residential. And what we can also do is quickly maybe even check out if we make our car park bigger. There we go. We're now providing, so we now, because we've changed the building types, we now need more car spaces, but we also get the flexibility of having more car spaces covered. But now it's saying, oh, look, there you go. You're only providing 49 of the required 303 car spaces. So it takes these regulations into use and gives you the live data straight away, so you can start to calculate, okay, this is how many bedrooms I've got. I want to have less 2 bedrooms. I want to have more 1 bedrooms, etc. And you can start to then play around with the forms that you're producing, shapes, and really start to get into the massing of your building with that real-time data. Now, there's other methods of analysis that you can use. It doesn't just have to be solar and the data here that we're starting to get taken from the building context. But if we go to public apps, we have an array of apps here, as well as apps that you can purchase on the Giraffe website. But this app here, let's say we want to add a shade map. And let's go to that. And we'll just give it time to run. There we go, we can see the shadows that are being produced. And what we can do is we can toggle the terrain and the shade, and there we go. That's how much shade our building's getting between them hours and where the shadows are falling on our building. So if we were to make this, let's just say for the purpose of this, we're going to make it a really tall building, like so. We can see where the shade is falling on that. We also have the ability to do this and see how the shade changes. We can see that there's always going to be an overcast of shadow on that corner, especially of the building. There's also other apps that we can start to import. So finance app, a context app. Speckle is a really interesting app. So Speckle enables you to rapidly export your buildings into Speckle, which then can be used to transform it into a Rhino or Grasshopper, Revit, any sort of file you really want. It's a great program usually used to transfer between Rhino and Revit whilst keeping data. Speaking of exporting, we have the ability to do that quite simply by going up to the top, going to our layers panel, going to our export panel, and then going to our export as. We have an array of exports. So in this case, if you're wanting to get it into Rhino or Revit or any sort of CAD, you just go STL file and it will export that for you. As we can see, it's got a zip here of our file down the bottom that's now loaded. That's an overview of some of the outside programs you get and some of the analysis that you start to be able to run through this building, which is quite handy, especially when you're trying to produce rapid feasibility. There is a really handy tool that you can get from the website that is an embodied carbon estimator, which is great as well for the early phases of schematic design, especially being so popular in Green Star and such a high recommendation. So I highly recommend you check that out and start playing around and analyzing your building and starting to get to understand how it's starting to look and what sort of analysis you're getting so that you can optimize your design rapidly. I'll see you in the next tutorial.